Thank you, Prof. Yo, for welcoming this year's participants. Our next speaker will be delivering the first keynote address entitled Co-Creating the Future of Power Together. He will be touching on the importance of collaboration and the possibilities that partnerships can bring. He is responsible for regional strategy, external relations, and governance of operations across the company's key businesses, civil aerospace, defense, and power systems. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you our first keynote speaker, President for Southeast Asia and South Korea, Rolls-Royce, Dr. Bicky Bhangu.
Hello, my name is Bicky Bhangu. I'm the Regional President for Rolls-Royce, covering Southeast Asia, Pacific, and South Korea. I'm delighted to be here today, and I'm just going to pull up my presentation so I can continue this presentation. Bear with me. Co-creating the future. At Rolls-Royce, we're pioneering the power that matters. We're delivering complex power systems and solutions. And I just want us to take a step back, because when we talk about innovation, when we talk about ideas, it comes from creativity. And let me take you down a memory lane, because this is really quite personal to myself. And growing up, there were gadgets that were available, but they're only an imagination. There were glasses that you could talk through. There were video conferences, there were self-driverless cars, there were smart watches, there was digital dashboards, biometric access to doors. All of that 30 years ago was only an imagination. And today, these are some of the technologies that we just take for granted with everything that we do today. And that is the journey we're on today. The pace of technology progression is actually much far greater today than it was in the journey that we've experienced over the last 30 years. And the co-creating the future at Rolls-Royce is really about bringing partnership, collaborations, ideas without geographical boundaries in place together in one place. And that's what we have been doing for the last 20, 30 years ourselves. And that's something, a model that's been very tried and tested for us and working very well for us. But let me really share what our future vision looks like. And then from there, the steps that we're taking and perhaps some of the other organizations are taking as well to get there. Our vision is for a sustainable future: clean, safe, affordable, efficient power. Power for land, power for sea, power for air. And this is a vision that is really important for us. This is the direction, this is our North Star that we're heading toward: clean, safe, reliable, and efficient power. Complex power systems and solutions that marry the sustainability agenda at the heart of everything that we do. Important also to look at is the businesses that we serve. And there's three businesses. The defense part of the business is delivering performance for our engines, for our complex and acrobatic aircraft, or for naval vessels, or for submarines. The power systems is the reciprocating engines that deploys much of the technologies for microgrids, for example. And I'll talk about some of the other technologies that we're looking in locomotives, which is a huge journey in terms of how we deliver safe and efficient power for land-based systems. And then there's the civil aerospace, the part of our business that is largest, and quite frankly, also the part of the business that has been quite vulnerable with the COVID-19, as you can see with the airlines and the impact that has had on the global travel. But yet, we continue to serve our customers. Logistics plays an important part, business jets plays an important part, and our passengers will travel again. So whilst it's a challenge that we're facing in terms of the number of flying hours, it is also an opportunity for us to really start accelerating some of the initiatives and ideas that we have behind the engines and the future engines that will deliver that clean, safe, reliable, and efficient power. And I'll touch on some of those initiatives as we go on through this presentation. And the heart of that is ideas, it is innovation, it is co-creation with our partners. We are committed to our future, our industries, our businesses, and governments. And this is really important to understand the relationship that exists, because we are here to serve the long-term markets. Our assets that we take, the partnership that we take are very, very long-term. And government, industries, academia, and research institutes all have a really important to play in this vital ecosystem to accelerate the pace of technology and accelerate the pace of technology adoptions into the society and into the products and services that we serve. And that is a commitment that we're leading in all the vital sectors, that we will be net zero emissions by 2050. It is a really bold challenge that we've set ourselves, and rightly so. Net zero emissions by 2050. I just want us to really sort of just take a time to really let that hit home. We have engines that fly. We have engines that serve the naval vessels. We have engines that serve the land-based systems. Net zero carbon emissions. And that is a bold journey that we're embarking on at the moment. So the challenge today is that against that journey and against that sort of bold statement that we've laid out, is that technology and partnership will play a fundamental part in transition towards a low carbon global economy. And we've pursued this agenda for ourselves, but it is not just in our products and services, it is also in our operations. Our products are very much focused on reducing the specific fuel consumption, the emissions, the noise. And I'll show you a chart shortly that shows the trajectory and the journey we've been on over the last 30 years. Our technologies that we're developing are all focused towards net low carbon or new low carbon technologies and capabilities for land-based systems, for air, and for our sea vessels. And then it is not just about the products and services that we are engaged in. It is how we do them, how we make them. But the facility that you see behind me is the state-of-the-art facility that we have in Singapore that assembles the engines for civil large engines, for the powers the 787 Dreamliner and the A330neo. And our facilities also have a carbon footprint associated with it. And we're committed that by 2030, the facility that you see behind me will be net carbon zero by 2030. So our operations and how we do those activities, our supply chain and how they're engaged on this journey becomes hugely, hugely important. And that's our low carbon approach that we're taking for products, for technology, for our operations. This is a chart that I was referring to when I talked about the journey that we've been on improving the efficiency at every generation. And this is the journey that our Trent engines that we've been embarking on since the early 90s. But when you look at the datum of the Trent 800 engines, what you see on the y-axis is our Trent family of engines and how specific fuel consumption has reduced as a percentage on every new product that we brought out. And you can see the journey that we've gone. The Trent XWB is the most efficient engine that we have flying today. It is 15% better in fuel consumption than our first Trent family of engines, the Trent 800. And our journey doesn't stop there. As we progress in time, the technology investments, the partnerships that we've made is taking us to a new journey, a whole revolution, sort of the core design of the engines, which we call the UltraFan. And the journey through advanced with composite fan blades, high power density gearbox will give us another 10% fuel efficiency savings on top of the incredible 15% that we've achieved through the Trent XWB. So 25% improvements in fuel consumptions to where we were just a couple of decades ago. And this is not just fuel consumptions, it's reduction in emissions, it's reduction in noise. All these three levers are really hard to achieve together. And the only way we get there is through technology and collaboration and really investing in that long-term partnership. And then our journey beyond the UltraFan will also start to materialize. And this is our electrification journey. And I want to touch a little bit more on that and how the mechanical and the electrical world will live much, much closer together. We will see a fusion between the mechanical and the electrical as we go into the electrification. And we will see more and more electrical architectures, intelligent, complex architectures by intelligent and delivering much more clean, safe, efficient, and reliable power. And in that journey, we mustn't forget the role that data plays. the data and digitizations, is really bringing together products, services, and digital. And we have a very sort of focused journey on what we call the intelligent engine. The intelligent engine is connected. Connected meaning that there's a two-way bidirectional communication between the airframe and the engine itself. So you can see actually the performance of the engine and at the same time gain new insights in real time. It is contextually aware. So the engines are much more intelligent to be aware of the surrounding environment and being able to adapt to the surrounding environment without any human intervention, because it knows they can increase the performance in a much more optimal way, saving emissions and reducing carbon footprint by being much more aware of the environment that it is operating in. And it is comprehending, meaning that it will be learning from the environment, it'll be learning from itself and its past, and it'll be learning from its peers. The airline network of engines will be connected together. So one experience and journey from one sort of 10 years of service, let's say, and another engine that is just coming into service, it can learn from what the behaviors of the other engines will be much more intelligent and much more configured for optimal use and savings for clean, safe, reliable, efficient power. And data is the trigger, data is the DNA that brings their products, services, and the digital platforms all together for us. And the data is something that is not new to us. We've been doing it for collecting data on our engines for last 20 years through the total care concept. So innovation doesn't just come through technology, it comes through innovation of business models and bringing those two together. And this is powered by the hour concept, where we've been collecting data from our engines so we can do predictive rather than reactive maintenance. So we have the right service engineer with the right part, with the right tool at the right place at the right time, because of the insights of what we've been collecting on how the engine is working, how the engine is being used. So the MRO side, the maintenance, repair, and overall side is much more optimized. This is not new. This is something that we've been doing for the last 20 years. And the intelligent engine is the next journey that we're going to place on top of this journey that we already have. So data plays an extremely important role. I touched on electrification, and as a business, we are a technology company. We are championing electrification across all our business sectors of civil, defense, and power systems. And one of the fantastic examples that we see from power systems is the introduction of the hybrid electric diesel genset, which is being demonstrated and is actually implemented. It is reducing a significant amount of footprint, and it is really focused on reducing emissions. So, but the architecture is much more complex because you have electric propulsion coupled together with your sort of conventional reciprocating engines, but the architecture gives significant savings in emissions, noise, and fuel consumption. And we're also putting the same architecture in vessels, in marine vessels, where rather than going for a hybrid, we've gone for a full electric propulsion. Another demonstrations in the Europe region, which has been very, very successful for us, demonstrators in Norway, that is. And then there is the microgrid. And power systems part of our business is really leading the way in intelligent microgrids, and putting together complex power system solutions together with assets so that we can deliver much more sustainable power and reliable power to where it needs to be. I want to come back to the idea of partnership and beyond geographical boundaries. And what we have in Singapore really highlights that quite significantly. And this chart here shows that by bringing together government, academia, research institutes, and really planning for long-term in not just what the industry will shape like, but what capabilities will shape like, and the skill sets that we will need in the next sort of 5 to 10 years. And that sort of coherent plan has allowed us to be engaged in multiple platforms. We've got a microgrid platform that we're engaged with in A-Star, the Internet of Things that we're looking at developing for our products and services. Electrification and our electrical labs here is playing a key role in our future products and services. We have a digital customer service here that supports the region with the data that we collect and the insights. So airline operators in the region are much better equipped on how their fleets are operating. We've got our largest R&T center here in Singapore, which I'll touch on shortly. We've got maintenance, repair, and overall capability that we're looking on what the future of that will look like in the next 5 years or so. Supply chain capabilities, assembly and test facility that you see behind me, and a fan blade manufacturing facility just across the facility from where I am. This is an ecosystem. It doesn't just happen on its own. It can't be led by industry alone. We would only achieve a fraction of that if we did. But when you bring together academia, research institutes, governments, and industry together, this is the art of the possible in a very short, thoughtful period of time that we can achieve that serves not just a company, but the industry engaged in those technologies and cross-fertilizing into other parts of businesses that are situated here in Singapore. And this does require some thought. This requires a focus on the technology and a framework for the technology. And the one way that we look at it is in looking at it from a technology readiness level or from a manufacturing insight, because operations like the one behind me are hugely important. The manufacturing capability readiness level, the MCRL or TRL. And I'm not going to go through the chart in detail, but what I want to highlight is the way we look at it is in 3 areas: the technologies, the digital, and the manufacturing that can serve our products, our services, and our operations. But what you'll notice against the scale of 1 to 9 that you see on the top is 3 particular regions. Region 1, which I would call the low TRL, the sort of the TRL 1 to 3, the blue sky research. And this is where academia plays a really significant role. And our collaboration with NTU, NUS, SUTD as well, we've got many interns that we engage with, allows us to do that blue sky research thinking. It is technology push that comes from outside of the Rolls-Royce peripherals and our sort of focused vision. It is to say what the future might look like against that chart that I showed right at the very beginning. We have to be really bold with our imaginations. We have to have all ideas coming in together. And the universities and the academia provide a great platform and a great source for just that, the technology push. On the very right-hand side of the scale of the TRL is what we would say the market pull, where we serve our customers, the customers who need technology adopted into a way which is directly linked with their revenue or with their business model or with their operations. And we have the customer service center, which I alluded to earlier on, and that capability that serves the region and our airline customer sits here because of the calling from our customers that they need a much more interacted relationship between the engine manufacturers and how those engines are performing. So actually linking that relationship with data has been really, really key for us. So there's a market pull led by the customers on the technology front. So we listen to our customers and design the technologies. There's a technology push that comes from the academia. The very sweet spot is what sits in middle. And this is the pivot, the relationship between ideas to reality. It is a really sensitive area. Sensitive because this is where ideas can also disappear if you don't manage it quickly or thoughtfully. And this is where also a huge amount of investment is required, not just financially, but committed investment from resources, committed partnership between governments, industries, and academia. And that's why you see we put so much focus on the middle TRL, the relationship that we have with universities here, with NTU, with the relationships that we have with our research institutes. A-Star is a fantastic example, has allowed this sort of sandpit environment where we can really go and bring ideas and quickly adopt for applications. If I was to look at my flow line behind me, what I don't want to disturb is adopt a new technology into the flow line by disturbing what's already happening in the engines that we're making. I'd rather replicate this into a center that allows me to do that, get it validated, get the regulatory stamp approved on it, and then bring it in. So these types of research centers that sit in that research institutes that sit between the sort of the two peripherals of technologies of ideas and market is absolutely significant. And here Singapore has been a great success of that because of the ability to bring government, industries, and research institutes together. So one example on the very left-hand side of the chart that I showed is our relationship with UTCs, our University Technology Centers. We have 31 of those across the globe. We have our largest by scale here in Singapore, and it's focused in 4 particular areas: electrification, repair capabilities, manufacturing technologies, and digital. None of those come as a surprise. This is partnerships and relationship between our technologists, our fellows within the company, working very closely with the professors, the research institutes, and the students of the academia institute. And this really requires a lot of close engagement and close trust, and a lot of ideas we've seen just flourish over the last 5 years and been a huge success for us. And then I want to talk a little bit about the middle of that TRL chart, or the MCRL chart that I was talking about, the sweet spot where platforms are needed to make ideas into reality. And our partnership that we have with A-Star, and in particularly the Advanced Remanufacturing Technology Center, is a fantastic example of that, where we are not just the only collaborator with A-Star. A-Star is engaged with about 85 different companies, very thoughtfully chosen 85 different companies, and we all bring our platforms, our challenges or problem statements to this platform. We engage with each other, we co-invest, we develop a solution, and we can deploy into our sort of product services. On some occasions, they're sensitive, there's too much sensitivity, so we have one-on-one engagement. But that sort of framework allows us to really accelerate the pace of technology adoption into our products, services, or operations. So far, we've achieved 80 projects that have been conducted with ARTC, and more recently, we announced our Smart Manufacturing Joint Lab, which now brings not just a Rolls-Royce and A-Star collaboration, but it also brings our JV partner, Sazel, where engines are overhauled. So there's a lot of learning in terms of how engines are made and how engines are overhauled, and the technology that sits in between the two. You develop it once and use it many times is some of the benefits we're starting to reap straight away. Again, the idea sounds simple, but the catalyst for us here has been the ARTC, the investment that the government made in the facility that companies and industries can go to and test their ideas in a very quick way and develop technologies in a very quick way through trusted partnerships that can be deployed into factories. And another sort of a fantastic example that came out of that A-Star relationship was a new way of technology acquisitions. Multinational companies really need to start to think differently, and we do. And we do because we are starting to engage much more deeper with SMEs. Innovation comes from all parts of the world in all sizes, shapes, and forms. And what we've learned is actually working very closely with SME, and in this case, it was research institutes and SME and us coming together and developed a joint automated solution that increases our inspection process by quite a significant amount, from 12 hours to sort of 1 hour type arrangement. And these are just the early stages of benefits that we're seeing through sort of intelligent boroscope inspections of the fan blades. And this SME based in Singapore, it would have been difficult for us to engage if it just was a one-on-one partnership. But through the platform of ARTC, they saw our problem statements, we saw their solutions, we worked together, We developed a solution and deployed in a very, very short period of time. So the new ways of working and new partnerships that we're seeing in engaging with SMEs has been absolutely a great learning for us in a very short period of time. And then looking forward, I painted our vision earlier on the clean, efficient, effective, reliable power for a sustainable world, sustainable power and propulsion in the products and services that we serve and the markets that we serve. And people and the future generation play a hugely important role. We must continue to inspire our next generation. It's a commitment that we have within the organization that we started many, many years ago. Our target back in 2014 was to reach 25 million individuals in a connected way of our future generations by 2030, 25 million by 2030 with STEM initiatives, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And so far we've done pretty well. We're at 6.75 million. This is a global count. We do it here in Singapore, we do it here in ASEAN, we do it in the UK, we do it in US, and it's fantastic to reach our future generation and inspire our future generation. We are committed to apprenticeship programs, and that's something that we've championed for many, many years. And the pioneering solutions really is about looking at where our technologies can be adopted. We're working very closely with fuels, for example, synthetic aviation fuels, because there is a huge opportunity on fuel companies and engine manufacturers to work together. We were not thinking about this even 5 years ago. So it's great. And now the strong engagement that we're seeing and bringing that together to see really it's our collective journey within the ecosystem of how we reduce the carbon footprint and get to the net zero carbon footprint aspiration that we all have. The flights and developing the next generation, the wide body, I touched on the ultrafan. Electrification for us will play a significant role, that fusion between the mechanical and the electrical world, and delivering power in a sustainable way, our pivot in the power systems strategy, and really serving the microgrid part markets around the world is really translating good for us, and is bringing together how we can deliver that clean, safe, and reliable, efficient power. And to really sort of touch in the new normal that we're in, I touched on the COVID very lightly at the beginning. It's developing capabilities in the virtual digital world. We shouldn't allow the sort of macro challenges sort of prevent us from progressing. You know, we could have easily not done this engagement today, but we've chosen to engage with the audience through the smart and digital media that we have, and something that we've just become all very used to in the last few months. And actually, in many ways, COVID-19 has accelerated even further the technology adoption and the pace of the technology adoption. And ourselves during the last few months and the very short period of time, we have a lot of tools that are STEM related, and we actually package those tools together, that knowledge together in a way that schools can start using them. And we actually created bite-sized modules that can be either sort of 5 minutes or 20 minutes long, or actually can be a whole curriculum length for the schools, especially once we were going through sort of home learning. And this is really sort of understanding the environment around us and quickly adapting. And this is the tool set that we've used to all of our where our schools are part of the STEM programs. It started in the UK. My kids here have started looking at the material as well, and we're looking to deploy it here in Singapore as well. So a great way to just be adaptive in the world that is around us. That's all I have time for. So thank you very much for listening. I wish you a very successful sort of a conference couple of days ahead. We are very much focused in our journey for the clean, safe, reliable, efficient power. Technology plays a key part. Co-innovation, co-creation, it plays a fundamental part. Thank you for joining.